In this video, we're going to be learning how to create this. What's up fam, it's Creative Savvy here and welcome back. First of all, if you are new here and you want to get straight to the tutorial, use this timestamp. Now I just want to take a second to appreciate every single one of you guys that supported me on my last tutorial. Like, it's crazy. All the love was crazy, man. I can't even explain it. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much for all the comments. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for downloading my stuff. You guys are amazing. Thank you for tagging me on Instagram. I saw each and every one of them. I liked each and every one of them that I saw. I dropped a comment. I love that you guys were actually creating stuff. If you're wondering why I haven't posted for a while, well, long story short, in January I got robbed. All my laptops and phone disappeared. I don't talk much about it. Anyways, let's get into the tutorial right now. As usual, in the description you'd find timestamps to different sections of the tutorial, and also as usual, if you check the description, the first link there will be a link to the starter file. You can download it for free. You have the model there and we can just start together. In your starter file you'll find the blend file, you'll find the HDRI file, and I also threw in some music because people ask me where I get music from. I get it from Envato Elements, but I just dropped in some tracks there for you to just play with. So for the first shot, this shot is a great way to introduce a product. So you have a project, you have a personal project or probably a client project, and there is a product you are trying to introduce. If the product has a unique shape, like I did this in my iPhone video, the iPhone is sleek, the iPhone is slim. You are trying to show that. This is a great shot to use to show that. If it has a nice curvy shape like a vase or some cool design, this is also a great shot to use to show that. So let's get right into it. In your starter file, you have your model, just one model. Let's set up our space. As usual, right click here, vertical split. So let's add a new camera. Hit 1 to go in the front view. Shift A, camera. Now let's change our camera settings to 85mm because I've said it before, I like using long lenses for products. So let's enter the camera view. Okay, no. Control Alt 0. Yeah. Control Alt 0 just assumes your current view as the camera view. And yeah, I decided to use 1080 by 1080. I decided to use a square format for this video because most advertisements for social media are usually in square formats. So I just decided to use that. You can use whatever format you want, but for this one we are doing 1080 by 1080. Okay, let's change the composition guide to center. The last time we used thirds, but now we're using center because we want everything to be in the middle. So make sure your camera is selected and just move around to make sure your product is in the center. Okay, now that we have our camera set up, increase your pass part 2, pass a part out. Increase your pass part 2 to 1 so you can focus on the camera. And let's make this our camera view. Hit 0. If you are using a laptop like me and you don't have a numpad, you can emulate the numpad by going to Edit, Preferences, Input, and check Emulate numpad. That means when you use your 0 on your laptop, it should work the way it's meant to work. So now that we have this, now this effect is really simple. When you get the gist, you realize how simple it is to do. And we'll be rendering this entire project in cycles just because light animation just looks better in cycles. It's just more realistic when you are going for realism. But for preview, we are going to use Eevee sometimes just to preview stuff. So let's switch to Eevee right now. Go into our rendered view on this side. You can see how dark it is. Now, to achieve this shot, we need everywhere to be pitch black, to be absolutely dark. So when we bring in our light, we can use our light to draw the shape of the bottle. To do that, we go to our world properties and set the strength to 0. Usually the strength is at 1. You can increase the strength, and the strength is basically just the brightness of the entire world. The world is the surrounding of the 3D environment. Make our strength be 0. So I'm going to use an area light here. You can use whatever light you want, but I just prefer using area light for this because they are long and rectangular. It just gives the vibe I want. So Shift A, light, area. Scale it up a bit. RY 90. So you can see we want our light to be very slim, so let's just scale on the y-axis so it's a very slim, long light. It's like you are trying to emulate a light strip in real photography. So let's increase the brightness to about, let's try 200. Yeah, now you can see. Let's make it shorter a bit. I can see you already have some lighting going on here. If you bring your light forward in front of the product, you can see how the lighting is changing. If you take it behind, you can see how it's affecting it. What we want to try to create is a sharp edge light around our product. So just take it back to the point where you can only see the light at the edge, something like this. Yeah, just take it until it's a very thin line. I thought I increased the power to 200. Yeah, I need to be very sharp. So take it back. Now let's go to the top view and point our light to our object, just towards our object. Yeah, I'll take it back a little bit more. Okay, now let's duplicate this light and put on the other side. Shift D, take it to this side. Try to make it symmetrical, so it should be just about the same distance on the other side. So somewhere here. Now rotate this one so it's facing the light on this side. Now you can see we have our edge lighting. It's already looking dope in here. Now all we have to do, this is why I said this shot is really simple. All we have to do is animate this light up and down. So if I drag this light down, you can already see the effects. Like, is this easy? Honestly, I think I want the edge to be sharper. So let's take these guys back a bit. Yeah, let me try using 400. 400 as power. Yeah, I think I like the way it looks. Nice. Now all we have to do is to animate the lights. That's all. So let's try animating them both in the same direction. So let's say we start from here. Start from the bottom here. Hit I, location. Then at 60 frames, we take it up here. Hit I, location. It's 3 a.m. right now, and it just started raining. I hope you guys can hear the rain. I hope this mic is doing a good job. So let's see how that looks. This is one light animation that looks good in Eevee. Actually, this is that one that looks good in Eevee. You can see we're already getting the effect we want. See, that's all. That is all, pretty much. Just play with this. Something we should do is to select our keyframes, hit T, and make our interpolation linear. Now let's do exactly the same thing with the second area light. I think we should start from the other side. So at frame 1, let's start our light from here at frame 1, I, location. At frame 60, let's bring it down here, I, location. Make sure this is also linear. Okay, let's see how that looks. Sweet. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, that's the entire thing. What I usually do when I'm editing this kind of shots is I just fade in. So it starts from pitch black in my editing software, Premiere Pro or whatever you want to use. It starts from pitch black, then it dissolves into the shot, then it goes back to pitch black. It just looks a lot better. Yeah, you have your shot already. Now you could play with this. You could do this however you want. You could make one light come down first. You could make them go the same direction. Just mess with this. Mess with the intensity, mess with the position of the light. I want you guys to create something different. It doesn't have to be exactly the way I did it. So that's for your first shot. Really easy. You can see, really easy. Now let's move on to the second shot. Let's rename this collection to shot 1. Shot _1. Yeah. Now let's create a new collection and call it shot _2. Okay, you can render this out if you want. You can render it out now, but I'm just going to go straight to the second shot. I think all we need in the second shot is the bottle. So let's select the bottle and the bottle cap. Hit Ctrl C to copy. Click on the shot 2 collection. I think we should disable this one first. Make sure shot 2 is selected, then hit Ctrl V to paste. Now we're at the beginning where we started from again. So for this second shot, it's not really a light animation shot, right? But I just thought if we are making a product animation, there should be a beginning shot, there should be a middle and the ending shot. So I was looking for a shot that would connect that intro sequence where you see the shape of the bottle and the final cool sequence where we push back to the entire scene. It felt weird to just put those 2 shots together, so I needed a middle shot to show a close-up of the product. Try as much as possible to show your product from different angles, taking different shots, a close-up, a wide angle, a medium shot. Try different things. So in that shot we had 2 of these bottles, so let's duplicate this, Shift D and X. Yeah, I've already parented these 2 objects, so the cap just follows the bottle automatically. Okay, let's add a new camera. Shift A, camera. Make sure this one is active. Remember, don't mess with the camera until you have made it active. Now this is our active camera. We are not seeing anything right now, and that shouldn't be. We set our world strength to 0 for the first shot, but we are not doing that for this second shot, so let's just make it 1 so we can see stuff. Now Control Alt 0 would set this to our camera view. Let's make this 100 mm lens. Let's move back a bit. G, Y. Yep. GX. Let's just center it. Nice. Now what I would like to do when I'm animating products or whatever, a car or any kind of product, right, and we are making some kind of motion that's not very basic, like a XY location movement, I like using an empty. I said this in the last tutorial. Animating the empty will give you more control over the animation. So let's add an empty around this product. Shift A, empty. Let's choose cube. Go to the top view. For the first bottle, just try to center it and make it match. We just want to surround the bottle with the empty. Yeah, something like this. Just try to do this. Shift D, X, and do the same thing here. Now, we want to parent our product to the empty. So when we move the empty, the product will also move. Super easy. Click on your product, Shift, click on the empty. Make sure you click on the empty last, then Ctrl P. Object. Now do the same thing here. Bottle, Shift, click on the empty, Ctrl P, object. Now it should work. Wonderful. Now camera view. What we want to do now, let's go to material preview so we'll be able to see. Oh, I didn't mention, this entire video was dedicated to you guys. That is why I used subs as the logo. The last one I used Nivea, but this one is all about you guys. So if we look at the video, it's just a typical motion of the bottle just sliding by. So let's just try to get that. Now we are going to animate the empty. Let's just rotate this one in this direction and rotate this one in this direction. I'm just eyeballing it now. You might use a specific angle to rotate it. Let's use GZZ. Bring this one down. GZZ. Hitting Z twice would change the transformation to the local axis instead of the global axis. Let's make them a little bit closer to each other. You know, more like this. Yeah. Now we are going straight to the animation. If we start with our shot looking like this, then from frame 1, let's hit I, location. Then at frame, let's say 120, let's hit GZZ and move this down a bit. Then it's I, location. Let's see how that looks. Okay, good. Make sure it's in linear because we want our motion to be constant. Okay, let's do the same thing for this guy. Make sure you're animating the empty and not the product. Hit I, location, then at 120 hit GZZ, then move it somewhere here, I, location. If you guys remember, I used this shot in my iPhone video and some of you asked about it, so that's more reason why I added it into this video, so I could just cover a bunch of things at once. Now let's see how that looks. T linear. Cool. Now let's add a bit of camera movement, just a slight camera movement. At frame 1, GY to make it very close. I, location. At frame 120, GY, bring it back a bit. I, location. I think we need to add a background for this. Let's do that now. Shift A, mesh, plane, S to scale, R, X 90 to rotate it and just take it back a bit. Okay, I think this is a good time to bring in our HDRI. Go to your world properties. Where you see color, click on it and click on environment texture. Now everything looks nice and pink. That is not what we want. So click on open and go find your HDRI file. HDRI Photo Studio. I got this from hdrihaven.com. You can get free awesome looking HDRIs from there. Cool. Now we'll have our render looking a little bit cooler. This is a studio pretty much. When you are using an HDRI, you might want your lighting to come from a different angle. For example, in this case, I would like my background to also match the background of the studio. Like this is the studio background, this is the backdrop. So I would like my actual 3D background, this guy, and this backdrop to be from the same angle. So we have to rotate this HDRI, and that's easy to do. Just go to shading, where you see object, click on the drop down and choose world. Now click on this image, this node, click on this and hit Ctrl T, and it should just happen automatically. If that doesn't happen, that means you don't have Node Wrangler add-on enabled, and that's easy to do. Also just hit edit, preferences, add-ons, and search for Wrangler. Yeah, just make sure this is checked. Good. So now that we have done that, let's switch it back to object. Now if we go to our world properties, we can see that we have mapping under vector, and when we click the drop down, you can see that we can mess with these things now. The only thing you have to mess with here is the Z rotation. So if I mess with the Z rotation, I'm messing with the world. That did not sound right. So let's just rotate it until we have our backdrop aligned with our background. So something like this. Yeah. Something like this. So the lighting would match. You know, when you're using a studio as your HDRI, you just want to assume the entire lighting of that studio. So just make it work right. Okay, so we're having this now. We are still in Eevee, right? Cool. I think we have our animation down. Yeah. Why does it look weird? T linear. Yeah. Did you see the weirdness that Bezier interpolation gives? I knew there was something wrong. When everything is linear, you can see there is no weird interpolation happening. Your camera motion is just going directly. So when you are editing and you cut to these shots, you don't cut to a shot that is starting and the camera is now trying to move fast. The camera is already moving at a constant speed. It just looks better. I learned this from Andrei Lebrov. It looks better when your camera motion is linear, if it's a linear motion. So we have our animation. Let's change the passepartout of our camera to 1 so we can see clearly what it would look like. Let's make this 120 so it loops. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, I think the last thing is to light this shot. Let's go into cycles. The last thing would be lighting. So really quickly, or before we do lighting, let's change the material of this plane. Let's make it the same color with this. So whatever color you are using, make it the same. It's going to look really cool. As you saw in the video, it looked really cool. Like I tried different things. I tried different background colors, but when I made it the same, oh my god, I was like, wow, this is so good. And yeah, about colors, let's talk about colors. You don't have to trouble yourself and think about what colors am I going to use. I don't do that. There are people that have done this work already for you. Just go on Google and search for color palettes. Search for color palettes. There are lots of websites. I use Color Hunt. I use Coolors. The color palette is one of the biggest reasons why that render looked that good. If you just pick random colors, it's not going to look as good, trust me. So there's like a bunch of them for you to choose from. Let's open Coolors and go to explore. You would see a bunch of color combinations, like no this and no peace. Every of these color combinations work. They just work. You don't need to think about it. People that really understand colors have come up with this, and you can see the amount of saves, how many people have saved this. You can see that these ones are popular. Just pick 3. I wouldn't recommend picking more than 3 colors from the color palette for any kind of project, be it graphic design or website design or CG. 3 colors, perfect. So I think I used Color Hunt. I'm going to drop this link in my description so you can check out the color palettes. I used Color Hunt and I just found a bold, nice looking color palette. This is green, this is yellow, this is pink, this is blue. So I tried different color combinations before I finally settled on the one that I actually used in the video. So this is the blue. You can easily click on it to copy it, as easy as that. Just click on the hex code. Now let's go back to Blender and create a new material for our background. Let's call this material Blue Rough. Yeah, Blue Rough. And click on base color, hex, and paste our code here. Great. Now let's do very quick lighting. 3-point lighting, very simple stuff. Hit light area, scale it up. Okay, let me go to material preview. So this is going to be just an overhead light. I just like having this to just blast light downwards and just fill up the entire space with light. before I start putting specific lights. Let's make this 1000. I'm not really seeing it. 2000. Don't be afraid of increasing the power of your light. It's CG, you can do that. Let's just duplicate this one. Shift D, rotate it on the y-axis. Let's go to the top view and focus it on the product. Yeah, something like this. Let's do the same thing for the other side. Shift D, duplicate it on the top view, hit R and rotate it. Now our shot is already looking a lot better just by doing this. Let's make this one brighter, like 4000. So this will be our key light and this will be our fill light. Let's make this one a bit smaller because I like my key light being soft. So I think this is a very cool shot. It looks very nice. But if you remember from my last tutorial, one thing I said that makes product shots pop is a point light in the background. Let's just add a point light. Light point. And let's just shift this to the back, just behind our product. Let's increase the radius and change the power to, let's say 200, and let's say 300. Yeah, you can see the difference. Maybe let's say 240. Cool. You can see it's a slight difference, very slight difference, but you'd be able to tell that it's even giving off a backlight. You can see the edge of our product is lit by the reflection of our point lights. It's game changer, man. It's really game changer. So this is our shot. This is the start of our shot. This is the middle of our shot. This is the end. And all I did was to just render different versions with different colors. And while I was editing in Premiere Pro, I was just cutting at the beat. I was cutting on the beat. That's my workflow actually. I usually start with the music. I know the music I'm going to use beforehand, and then I'm just cutting to the beat. I think the last thing I did in this shot was to rotate the actual product. And this is an important reason why you'd want to use empties to animate your product. Because in times like this, if I had done the location animation on the actual product, when I'm doing the rotation, it's going to really mess it up. It's going to have a very weird outcome. So we use the empty for our location animation. Now we are going to animate the product for rotation. That might sound complex. It's not complex at all. I just rotated the bottle a bit. So at frame 1, now on the bottle, not the empty, on the bottle, hit I, rotation. Let's do RZZ and rotate it a bit. I, rotation, and on the last frame, let's do RZZ and rotate it a little bit to the other side. I, rotation. And let's do the same thing for this guy. RZZ, somewhere here. Rotation. RZZ, drag it a bit. I, rotation. Now you notice the bottles are also rotating, as you can see from here. While the bottles are moving, they are also rotating. So I would like you to change the design of this bottle. You wouldn't notice this rotation because the bottle is mostly one color. But if you have a very cool design, like very nice pattern on it, this shot is going to look even way cooler. I think we are done with this shot. Looking splendid. Just render it out. I'm going to talk about rendering. We are going to render using the Intel Denoiser, but we are talking about that in the end. So I think that's all for the second shot. Is there anything else? Nope. We have our animation done, our camera animation done, our light placed in. I think that's all. Good. So first shot is done, second shot is done. I hope you guys are learning something. I hope I have not just been talking for the past couple of minutes to myself. Yeah, side note, I didn't want to say this at the beginning of the tutorial so people don't just rush there and get it. I wanted to make sure that the people that are hearing this are following the tutorial to some extent. So if you check in the description, there is a second link to Starter Files Pro. Now the difference between this and the original starter file is that one, the blend file for this one is completed, like the complete project. When I was done with all the work, I just dropped the blend file there. Now this one is not free. I put a price of $1, just $1, and I don't want people to just go straight to the file and just copy whatever is there without following the tutorial. You won't really gain anything from doing that. So I hope you guys actually follow the tutorial. I would actually prefer if you follow the entire tutorial using the starter file, and if there's something you don't understand for some reason and you want to check the back end, then you can get the other one. Now let's continue to our last shot, the coolest and most interesting shot, the one you probably came here for. Okay, to start creating our third shot, let's create a new collection. Right click, new collection. Let's call it shot 3. Now we need some things from this. We need some things from here, but I think we'll grab it later. Let's just take the plane. Let's just copy the plane and paste it in shot 3. Yeah. Now let's duplicate the plane, RX90. This is going to be our backdrop. So this is our backdrop, very simple backdrop. Now let's add a new camera as usual, make it active, and let's find a nice angle, Ctrl-Alt-0. Let's make this camera 85 mm. GY. Just try to get a nice angle. GY. Yeah. Oh, we forgot to copy our product. I think let's copy it from shot 1. Copy. Paste. Now we have our product here. Okay, now when it comes to coming up with short ideas or scene ideas, I've said it before, don't think too much. There are people that have done this already for you. Just go grab ideas. I made a video about the top places I find my ideas, and Pinterest is one of them. I'm going to share a link to my Pinterest in the description, and you can see that I've saved some pins depending on what I'm working on. When I was working on the Tesla animation, I used Pinterest to find a lot of class scenes that I could draw inspiration from. And now, if you check my abstract 3D scenes, you see a lot of ideas for how you can frame and how you can display your products. So just grab ideas from 2-3 different places. If you grab an idea from one place and you reproduce it, you are copying. What you want to do is steal like an artist. You grab ideas from 4, 5, 10 different places, different kinds of ideas about lighting, ideas about story, ideas about scene setup, and put it into one until you have something creative. When you combine little ideas from different places, you have something creative. So I will just briefly walk you through my thought process of how I came up with that scene. After seeing a couple of inspirations, I just added a bunch of boxes, I just added a bunch of planes, and we got our shot. So let's start with this is our main product. This is where we want the viewer's eyes to be focused on. So let's put it in the center. Oh, for this camera, let's select camera. So for this camera, we want our composition guys to be thirds and our pass part 2 to be 1. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's add a couple of boxes. Let me just add a cube. Bring it down, make it longer, bring the product down, directly on the cube. A cool way to know that something is not intersecting is to just go inside and look at it from inside, and you can just stop at the point where it's intersecting, so you know that your product is placed perfectly. Let's add a couple of more boxes. Let's duplicate this. Just scale it on the x-axis. Let's duplicate this again, put it here, scale it on the y-axis, move it here, duplicate it. So I'm just randomly placing boxes and trying to come up with a composition that looks nice to my eyes. If you have references, it's best to use a reference. I'm just using the video I've already created as reference. Okay. Let's adjust our camera. Let's move it forward a bit and downwards. Yeah, something like this. We would keep adjusting our camera and adjusting our object throughout this entire scene until we have something we really like. Let's make this less tall, bring it downwards. Okay, what else is interesting about this scene? These planes, you know what these planes did was to separate the background from the foreground. It just looks very, very beautiful when you have a foreground element. It looks nice. So before we do that, let's just duplicate this product and place them in different places. Let's go to the top view. Make sure you have the bottle cap and the body selected. Duplicate it, place one here. Duplicate it, place one here. Let's raise this one up. I'm just going to go through this really fast because it's a tutorial and I don't want to waste your time. Cool. Is there anything else? Yeah, some were laying on the floor. How I got the idea of laying some bottles on the floor was because I used reference. I saw this picture and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. So let's duplicate this one, bring it here, rotate it RY90, yeah, and bring it to the floor. Try to make sure it's not intersecting, just somewhere here. It's fine. And make sure it's also not floating because it's going to look weird. Let me switch to EV so we can see it in real time. Let's duplicate this, Shift D on the x-axis. You can see your camera view here, so RZ1AT. I'm just trying to achieve what I achieved in the shot again. Cool. I think this is it. I think this is the framing. But we're gonna do some adjustments. Let's make this one a lot flatter. Let's bring this guy down. So this is, you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing here. You could make your scene look however you want, but this is just an example. Everything I do in my tutorials are just examples. I would like you guys to just follow and create however you see fit. I trust you. Let's bring this guy down a bit. Let's move this entire folk. So let's try to create balance. You're trying to find balance when you're trying to come up with a composition. You want the left side to be balanced with the right side and the top should balance with the bottom. Just make sure there's clear balance in the entire picture. So I think we should move our camera forward a bit. GY, GZ, GX. Yeah, I think I like it like this, but we'll have to move this guy to the center again. Okay, so I think this is looking good. Something else I did was to add those slanting planes. So let's add a new plane, scale it up, RX90, and let's rotate it in no particular angle, but something like this. Now let's take it here, bring it down. Let's put this one here, right in front. I think I should move all these guys forward, just a little bit forward. I should move this guy forward. I should move this group forward. Yeah. Duplicate this, move it on the y-axis. Bring this guy inside. Cool. Duplicate X. So you can do whatever you want. Like, this is even looking like a cool idea to do it this way instead of the way I did it in the video. But let's just keep the video pattern. Rotate, drag it down, bring it forward. Let's bring this bottle forward. GX. Yeah. Let's duplicate this guy, Shift D, X, and bring it forward. I think we are getting the framing that will work to it. I think it looks better in solid view. Yeah, you can see the framing a lot better here. Okay, this is too close. Let's take this guy back a bit and make sure he's in the center. Okay, I think we have our framing. We have our framing down now. Just adjust things until it looks nice to you. Let me move this guy here a bit and move this guy here just slightly here. I think this is perfect. We have our foreground elements, we have our backgrounds, we have the main product we are looking at, we have our main background. So this looks really nice. Let's do a quick camera animation. This should last for about 120 frames. That's about 5 seconds. Frame 1, eye, location. Let's move it closer. G, select the camera, GY, yeah, something like this. Eye, location. And on the last frame, GY, something like this. Eye, location. Make sure it's linear, because it looks better when you're editing. Let's see. Very nice. It's already looking nice. See, we did that in less than just a couple of minutes. If you can just get references that look nice and draw inspiration from them, you're going to produce some nice looking work. Get references for framing, get references for lighting, references are the biggest thing. Get references for colors. Your work is pretty much done for you. Now let's go into the materials. Material preview. Yeah, and let's start changing the colors. From our color palettes, let's copy the yellow color. This number shows you how many times these materials is occurring in this scene, or should I say how many objects has this material. So there are 2 objects, these 2 planes are using this material, but when I click it, it creates a new material, right? So I can change it. So let's rename this to yellow rough and change the color hex code paste. Cool. Let's do the same thing for this. Change it to yellow rough. Are we in Eevee? No wonder. Look at how Eevee looks like. There are some things that cycles just work a lot better. Yeah, it looks a lot better in cycles. Like you capture more realistic ambient occlusion. What else is yellow in this scene? I think some of the birds are yellow. I just tested this out. I made a lot of trials. This was one of the trials. Some of them made sense, some didn't make sense, and I landed on something that I thought was comfortable. If you notice, I was just looking for balance. The background is yellow. We have a green bottle popping, and on either side I'm trying to create balance with the blue on this side, blue on this side, yellow on this side, yellow on this side. I'm just trying to create balance. Let's make this guy yellow, this guy. Select yellow rough for this guy, select yellow rough for this guy. So let's go to the blues. Let's copy the blue hex code. I think make this one blue. I think I already created the blue rough, so just select, yeah. For the green, let's go copy the green color. Now this guy is green. New material, green rough. This guy is green. Paste the X code. I think these other guys are green. These other planes. Just select green rough. Select green rough. What else? Yeah, the last thing is to change the color of the actual bottles. Yeah, one thing I did was the decision I made was to make the bottle and the box they were laying on to be the same color. So this one is laying on a yellow box, so we're going to make it yellow. Click on this number and rename this to yellow shiny. Copy the yellow color, then come here, paste it. For this guy that is green, copy the green color, hit this number and rename this to green shiny. It's good practice to name your materials so you don't get confused. Change the color, paste the hex code, and I think everything is colored now, right? Awesome. And we have our camera animation down. Awesome. Let's look at it in Eevee. Use Eevee for preview. Looking very nice. It's clean. Very nice. I think one thing I did was to add depth of field. If you notice, this guy is very sharp. I want you to focus on this guy. That's why he's the one floating, while the rest are just still. Click on the camera. Go to the camera settings, under depth of field, check it, and use this eyedropper to select this object so the focus is on this object. We need something that will really make it blurry, so let's use 0.4. Let's see how that looks like. Man, this is rendering slowly. I think that's too blurry. I think I used 0.8. Let's do 1.2. Just make sure this guy is in focus and the rest are not really in focus. Nice. It just gives that added cinematic vibe. I think what else? Add lighting. Thankfully, we already set up lighting in the previous scene, so let's just go there and copy our lighting. Area. Come here, hit Ctrl C. Disable it. Come to shot 3 and paste. Dope. Automatically our scene looks a lot better. A lot. This point light should be down here. We're about getting to the light animation part. This guy should be somewhere here and should be smaller. Okay, now for the light animation, this kind of shot really ups the cinematic look of your render. You can render a shot and it looks very boring and static, but this little thing can make it look a lot more interesting, just making the light move, and you are just practically trying to simulate what sunrise looks like. You know, when the sun is rising and you're looking at the window, the light is passing through the window and it's just moving, that vibe. So it's easy to recreate. Let's just create our window in quotes. Shift A, mesh plane, scale it up, S, X, make it slim, then R, Y 90, make it stand like this. Let's bring it to this corner. Now go to your modifier properties, add modifier array, count, let's do 12, let's make it 20, and factor, let's make factor 2. Yeah, so we have like a window situation happening here. If we move our window closer to our render, like as close as possible till you can't see it in the shot, just right outside the shot. Let's look at this in Eevee to be easier to see. Now if we drag our light up and down, you already seen the effect. Just animating our light up and down, you can see the effect. Now depending on the look you are going for, I would like you to actually try a lot of things. You could mess with the angle of this, you could rotate this however you want. Let's do something like this, right? And you could animate the light however you want. In fact, you could animate this instead. It still gives you some kind of light animation. So let's animate our light up and down and we will get the effect we are going for. Go to cycles, make sure this is working in cycles. Are you sure this is working? That's the thing, it's hard to preview this in cycles. Just try to bring your window thing as close as possible to your product without it being in the shot, and also bring your light close. And also, the bigger your light, the softer the shadows. We don't want soft shadows in this kind of render. We want the shadow, we want to clearly see the shadow of our window. And since we are trying to simulate sunlight is actually a very tiny point source. So let's reduce the size of our area light to something very small. And now you'll be able to see the effect in cycles. Very nice. You can see these lines. If we animate them, they should move. Even though we want the shadows of the light animation to go over our product, we also want the product to always be the focus of attention. So we want it to pop. So make sure you have a separate light making your product pop. Let's add a quick area light here. Shift A, light area, scale it up a bit, rotate it, make it face the product. Yeah, and increase the power to about 200. Just make it in a way that the product is popping just a little bit more than normal. Okay, I think we have this entire setup going on. I really want you guys to play with this window thing. It doesn't have to be just planes. You could model an entire window. You can model a complex window, right? If you like modeling, or get a model of a complex window and then do the same thing, you would have your effect. Now all we have to do right now is to animate our light. Eye, location, let's bring it up. So somewhere here. Man, this is hard to see in cycles. Let's use Eevee. So somewhere here, eye, location. Then on the last frame, somewhere here, eye, location. So you can see it move. You guys should really mess with this. Don't do exactly what I'm doing. In fact, I don't want to see this exact project when you guys are posting on Instagram. I want to see you post on Instagram and tag me as usual. But this time I want you guys to try something different out. Go out and look for inspiration and try out something different. It doesn't have to be exactly this. So I think we have everything set up. We have our materials, we have our lighting, we have our light animation. I think we have our entire scene set up. Amazing. Congrats guys, we did it. We made it. We finally made the light animation tutorial. This is the basic principle: getting your window, getting your tiny source of light, and then moving your window close to your product, and then animating your light. That's all. Try it out. If you have any questions, I would like to answer it. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. As usual, I reply. I read every single comment and I will reply your comments. Okay, let's talk about rendering. We're going to use the Intel Denoiser because this is going to take a long time, because we have 5 different models of this bottle in our scene, so we don't want that. And this kind of animation where you have very basic materials, all the materials here are very basic, no complexities happening, and the animation is very slow and soft. We can actually use the AI Denoiser. Let's set our render samples to 20. You can use 10 in fact, but let's set it to 20. If you have used the Intel AI Denoiser before, this shouldn't be any news for you. But if you have not, you're going to learn something very useful right now. Go to your compositing tab, come here to view layer properties, make sure denoising data is turned on. Now come to your compositing tab and click use nodes. Now let's add a viewer so we can see our render. Let's keep our viewer here. Now let's add Shift A to add Shift A, search denoise. Let's drop a denoising node, connect the image to image, connect your denoising normal to normal, denoising albedo to albedo, and then connect this image to your composite. So your nodes should be looking like this. And for you to view it, connect this image also to your viewer. And when you make a render, you'll be able to see this at the background. Let's try it. Let's render one frame. This frame, F12. Okay, sweet. We have our render. You can see it's looking very clean. It's looking very nice. Wow. You can see the light animation thingy happening here. You can see the shadows. Wow, this is looking nice. So just render your animation. I'm sure you know how to render animations. Just come here, change the output folder, probably videos, give the frame a name. Let's call it frame. For same, let's call it frame, and then render in PNG sequence, or you can render as a video, and then go to render animation, or hit Ctrl F12, and you would have your animation. Oh, one last thing. Before I forget, one last thing. I made this bottle bounce. I made it go up and down. Yeah, that was the last touch I added just to spice things up. Let's do that now. Why not? Very, very easy. Nothing special about it. I didn't do any special thing in the graph editor this time, so it was pretty easy. Just keyframing, keyframe location, then at, let's say 40, go here, I location, then at 80, let's copy this one and paste it here, then at 40, copy this one, paste it here. So it goes up and down and up and down, and that is pretty much all. You can definitely refine the F curves for this one to get exactly how you want your bouncing to be, but I think this is actually good. This is actually good. I don't think I did any special thing in this animation. Yeah, very nice. So just go ahead and render this out. When I see your work, I would like to see different colors. I would like to see different concepts. So just go all in, guys. The floor is yours. Finally. I'm finally done. Thank you guys very, very, very much for all the support. Thank you so much for 1K, 2K, and 3K subscribers. It's crazy because when I created my last tutorial, I think I was at 300 subscribers or something. You guys are awesome. We are back to the old content creation thing. I took a break for some reasons, so now we're back, and I'm going to be communicating using the community posts to ask you guys what kind of content you want to see going forward, and you can also tell me in the comments. So thank you very much for watching, and remember, you can download the Starter Files Pro in the description if there's something specific that you need to see. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful time. Till then, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.